So glad to have you here.
Thank you.
This is an important conversation,
Yes.
and appreciate your courage in having it.
Thank
but
you.
let's just go to the stats right now, because it's actually kind of shocking, and you lay it out at the top of the book. 16% of 18 to 24-year-olds live with their parents. Still 1 in 5 live with their parents at 30. You've got 15% of men saying they have no close friends. They're also 4 times more likely to take their own lives. Why has this particular cohort, young men, fallen so far so fast?
We have economic policies that have effectively taken money from young people and transferred it to people my age. People my age are 72% wealthier than they were 40 years ago. People under the age of 40 are 24% less wealthy. And something we don't like to acknowledge is that men become somewhat unattractive to the opposite sex and lack self-esteem and lose their role when they're not economically viable. 3/4 of women say economic viability is key to mate. It's only 1/4 of men who say that. So they have fewer educational opportunities. They have legislative policies and tax policies that have taken money out of them. They've also been a little bit pathologized. I talk about the fact that a man's desire to have a relationship and, quite frankly, to have sex, it's been pathologized. But that fire should and is usually used to be a better man, dress better, be in shape. The secret weapon for attracting a mate, a kindness practice. But where does a man demonstrate excellence? They're not going to work. They're not going to school. 40% of bars and pubs have closed down since COVID. Where does he demonstrate excellence?
Well,
45% of men 18 to 24 have never asked a woman out in person.
that's eye-popping. And the question is why? Why is that?
I think that no man wants to be that guy. Imagine you make an approach at a place. One of the key things I think dads have to teach their sons is how to express romantic interest while making the other person feel safe. And this is anecdotal, but when I go up, I will have women approach me and say, I'm out, I'm obviously here, I'm open to meeting people, I look amazing, and not a single man has approached me. Guys don't want to be that guy. In addition, I hold big tech responsible for a lot of this.
Amen.
We have 40% of the S&P by market value who have connected to rage and divisiveness and sequestering people from their friends and family and mates.
You call social media a rage machine, and these companies are reaping billions. They're just trying to go from billionaires to multi-billionaires.
Well, why? It used to be the sex cells.
Yeah.
Now we found out, the algorithms found something better, rage and divisiveness.
Yes.
But they're trying to convince young men who have, quite frankly, less evolved prefrontal cortex, the gas on, gas off. But why go through the hassle of expressing friendship in the hierarchy of friends when you have Discord and Reddit? Why go through the hassle of putting on a tie, trying to navigate all of this when you think you can trade stocks or crypto on Coinbase or Robinhood? And why, Savannah, would you go through the humiliation, the effort, and the cost of approaching a strange woman when you have lifelike porn at home?
Can I just say,
Why do we have a lack of empathy? Why is there an understandable gag reflex? 80% of the prosperity from 1945 in the world to 2000 was that the 5% of the population that were Americans. And then 1/3 of those got all of the prosperity, specifically white heterosexual males. So the bottom line is I had unfair advantage. But should we hold a 19-year-old male responsible for my unfair advantage? So I have a debt. And the call out to young men, to men my age, is the following. We need to get more emotionally involved in a young man's life. The single point of failure for a young man when he comes off the tracks is when he loses a male role model through death, disease, or abandonment. He becomes more likely to be incarcerated than graduate from college the moment he loses a male role model, which is interesting because girls actually have similar outcomes. The net sum of all the research is while boys are physically stronger, they're emotionally and neurologically much weaker. Men my age have to step up. If we want better men, we have to be better men.
Scott, really quickly, we're almost out of time. I do want to show another graphic. I found this very interesting in the book. You write about this crisis of, and we've talked about this, you write about the crisis of loneliness. Google searches on where to make friends, feel lonely, where to meet people. And you can see there just how much those searches have skyrocketed over the past few years. To what can we attribute that? Why is it so hard for men, quite frankly, men of any age, to just make friends, to just hang out?
There's fewer third places. Men aren't going to church. They're not going into work. They're not connecting to school. So where do they go to meet friends? And then they're up against lifelike the deepest pockets in the world that are essentially trying to sequester them from the rest of society. The only reason I graduated from college was, one, I got in, 76% admissions rate at UCLA when I applied. Now it's 9%. But also, and this is embarrassing to say, but one of the reasons I went on campus was not only to see my buddies, but the remote but possible chance I might meet someone and have a relationship. If I had lifelike synthetic porn on my phone and on my computer 24/7, I'm not sure I would have gone on campus as much. We are literally saying to young men, you don't have to have relationships. We are becoming less mammals. It's as if we are producing or evolving a new species of asocial, asexual males. For God's sakes, it's like we're planning our own extinction. We have to create economic incentives and get people out, especially men who need relationships more than women. There's this cartoon of a woman in her 30s. What a tragedy she didn't find romantic love. Actually, the research shows men need relationships more than women. Widows are happier after their husband dies. Widowers are less happy. Women live 2 to 4 years longer in a relationship, men 4 to 7 years longer. If a man hasn't cohabitated with a woman by the time he's 30, there's a 1 in 3 chance he will be a substance abuser. Men need relationships. Relationships happen in person. In sum, get off your phone, get out, and touch grass.
I mean, and all the people said,